Welcome to the first of a 5-part series on how to wire an electric guitar. Today I'm going to explain how your guitar converts the vibrations in a string into an electric signal. I will explain what a guitar pickup is. The easiest way to think of a pickup is like a microphone. Through a slightly different process, a pickup converts the vibrations of the strings into an electric current. That electric current can be amplified and decoded to produce sound in an amplifier and speaker. Oddly enough, that sound created by a speaker is then converted back into an electric signal by a microphone when recording, because the sound can be shaped further by selecting a particular type of speaker or microphone or adjusting the placement of the microphone or microphones recording the audio. The two main types of pickups that exist are piezoelectric and electromagnetic. For the purposes of this video, I will discuss mainly magnetic pickups because they are far more common, but I will briefly discuss piezoelectric pickups. You generally will not see a piezo pickup as it is normally placed in or behind the bridge. They are more popular with acoustic or semi-acoustic guitars because they tend to provide a more precise or natural sound. The placement within or behind the bridge is no accident. This is the location on a stringed instrument that vibrates the most when a string is plucked. The current is generated in this case by a piezoelectric crystal. As the name might imply, many examples of piezoelectric crystals exist, including common natural crystals like quartz, topaz, and even sugar, and artificially created crystals. When these crystals are compressed by the vibrations in the bridge, they generate a very tiny electric current. This requires additional amplification via a preamp to become loud enough to use, and is the reason a guitar with a piezoelectric pickup has a 9-volt battery. Far more often, guitarists encounter magnetic pickups. These all have the same basic design, but even so, there are subtypes, including single coil and humbuckers. Additionally, pickups might have metal covers or plastic covers. These do not affect the sound much and are generally for cosmetic purposes. Another type of pickup is the active pickup. I will not be discussing these today. Most of the time they will have a plastic pickup cover and rely on a 9-volt battery to further amplify the normal sound of the guitar pickup. But all of the pickups I will be talking about are passive pickups. All of the information pertains to single coil, P90, and humbucker pickups since they work on the same basic principles. At their heart is a magnet. In this case of a humbuck picker, there are 12 magnets wrapped in a copper wire. The magnets can be made of a metal alloy. The most common is aluminum, nickel, and cobalt, often shortened to Alnico, but pickups can also use stronger ceramic magnets. The stronger the magnet is, or the closer the magnet is to the strings, the louder the pickup will be. In fact, unlike piezo pickups, which only have a limited amount of things that can be varied, the sound a magnetic pickup hears can be shaped in a number of ways, like using different strength magnets, more variation in position, closeness to the strings, and the number of winds in the wire. The first part of sound a magnetic pickup produces comes from the strings on your guitar. They are the moving part that releases energy. Some of that is heard as sound. Part of that is seen as movement. Anyone who has ever screamed at a guitar pickup trying to hear his voice knows that they aren't picking up sound from the strings. So why do they hear the strings, but not my voice? The type of metal in the guitar string is very important for a magnetic pickup. It needs to be attracted to a magnet, or described as ferromagnetic. This is very quickly tested by seeing if the string sticks to the magnet in the pickup. The more attractive it is, the better the interaction, and the more sound a pickup can make. Your voice, by contrast, is not attractive by magnet standards and does not interact. Most electric guitar strings are made out of steel or nickel for this reason. Bronze strings popular on acoustic guitars work, but not so well because they are weakly ferromagnetic. Nylon strings, because they are plastic, are completely useless and produce no sound. When you pluck a string, it vibrates at a particular frequency depending on the length of the string, the gauge of the string, and the tension of the string. Physically, the string moves up and down like a wave with peaks and troughs. That makes sense, but where does the electricity come from? It is not from the plug, since that is really an output. Faraday's law, named after the British scientist Michael Faraday, is important to the workings of many types of electric generators, including guitar pickups. If you had a universe with a single magnet and no other materials, the magnetic fields around the magnet would be represented by the magnetic field lines, like this picture. The field lines move away from the North Pole and move into the South Pole. Those field lines are complete so that even the lines going off the screen will come back onto the screen and connect to the South Pole. The field lines coming out of our magnet might look something like this. Because the fields are touching the magnets and the string is ferromagnetic, they will be able to interact with it. As the string vibrates and moves closer to the magnet, it will pull more of the magnetic fields towards itself. As the string moves back away, the magnetic field lines will revert towards their initial position. This change in the field lines is called a flux. The important part of the vibration is the part moving to and from the magnet. Magnetic flux is what generates the electric current. If instead of a magnet wrapped thousands of times, you had a magnet wrapped once, it might simplify things. When the magnetic flux is occurring in these directions, it will generate a small electric current in the wire based on a right-hand rule that says the direction of the current will be perpendicular to the flux. Since the string is vibrating up and down, the current would move back and forth, creating a signal that mimics the oscillating pattern of the strings. If you watch the current alternate back and forth over time, the frequency of the current would be the same as the frequency of the sound waves. Because this current is so small, it is first amplified by adding a lot of windings to the magnetic pickup. If you have too few, it is quiet. If you have too many, it loses some of its character. Think of it like the difference in sound quality when something is a whisper or screaming versus a nice speaking or singing voice. In this part, I will explain what the difference between a single coil and a humbucker pickup is. Suppose you have the same magnet wrapped with a wire, but you remove the magnet. Now you have a coil of wire. If you move the strings, nothing really happens. But what if you put a current through the wire? You would generate an equal or a related magnetic field. Through a normal wire, this would be a small magnetic field that you might not notice unless it was a high current. In this case, with multiple coils, it would multiply the strength of the magnetic field, creating an electromagnet. This could be used to create things such as a motor or power a speaker. If you had a single wire with an electric current, it will also generate a magnetic field perpendicular to the direction of the current. If a current like that was exposed to a pickup, the magnetic field would make no sound because it is a constant magnetic field. And the current develops in a wire because of change in a magnetic field. In most of the world, power coming into our homes is an alternating current, so the current is moving back and forth instead. And that creates a magnetic flux with the magnet changing directions. This occurs every second about 60 times, or 60 hertz in the United States. That change can be heard by a pickup and would generate a current in the wire frequency referred to as a 60 hertz hum in a single coil pickup. If you have any guitar with at least 2 single coil pickups and ability to blend the two in parallel, like a Stratocaster or Telecaster style instrument, when you blend the two pickups you will often notice a decrease in volume, but you will also notice the hum disappearing. This hum disappears because the pickups are out of phase and have reversed polarity. Phase refers to the direction of the wire wraps. Polarity refers to the orientation of the magnets. Phase again refers to the direction of the strings and how they're wound around the magnet. On the left side, the strings are wrapped counterclockwise, and on the right side, clockwise. When a magnetic flux occurs, it will generate a current. That current will be one of two directions based on the direction the wire is wound, but it will have the same strength. When the wires are wrapped in the opposite direction, they are called out of phase. When they are in the same direction, they are in phase. If the strength of the signals is the same but opposite direction, the currents will phase cancel each other, meaning the total amount of energy produced will be zero, or total amount of current produced will be zero. Polarity refers simply to the direction of the magnets, which direction is north and which direction is south. If two magnets of equal strength are reversed and wrapped in phase with identical wiring, the current generated by the two pickups would be equal in size and opposite in direction. If wired together in series, the signal would be canceled. Based on this idea, humbucker pickups were invented. Because they reduced the hum, they were called humbuckers. By reversing the phase and polarity between the pickups, the hum is canceled and the sound of the strings is maintained. Essentially, the reversed phase allows canceling of the magnetic field picked up from electric wires, and the reversed polarity allows the pickups to not cancel each other when hearing the strings. This is also how single coil pickups are made when sold in a set. It allows the two pickups to reduce hum when blended. This happens in Stratocasters, Telecasters, and jazz basses commonly. Humbuckers are further modified with more complicated wiring that allows switching between in-phase, out-of-phase wiring, series parallel wiring, and single coil pickups. This allows a wider array of sound using switches. To summarize these things, when Ferris guitar strings vibrate, they move back and forth within the magnetic field generated by the permanent magnets your magnetic pickups contain. This movement interacts with and changes the magnetic field, creating a magnetic flux. That magnetic flux induces an electric current in the copper wires around the pickup that goes to your amplifier and makes sound come out of your speaker. In my next presentation, I'll explain what a potentiometer is and how to wire one of them into your guitar circuit.